All right, we move on to a story we would have loved to get to last Friday, but we had so much going on we didn't get to, and that news was kind of late breaking. So we have the Deshaun Watson story, which, as you heard Friday, that he will not be criminally charged in the police investigation that was followed the 22 women who accused him of harassment and sexual assault. 12-person grand jury declining to indict him on. Prosecutors presented 9 cases and the jury rejected them all. So take that for what you will. Anyway, since then, obviously the trade rumors have been swirling. We've had, it seems like, a quarter of the NFL, perhaps even more teams have been in on Deshaun Watson. He's apparently got some sort of list. USA Today says his list is about his like top 3 are the Panthers, Saints, and Browns. Of course, plenty of other teams, as I said, would like to get in on the action. Drink, what do you think? What do you think the best spot is for him, and where do you think he'll ultimately land?
Well, damn sure ain't the Houston Texans. But before I get into that, let me just I guess chime in on what you said about the actual like case itself a little bit. So you had 22 women. Now you remember when this case first happened, you had women just every day, 2, 3, 5, and it was kind of crazy because I remember we was talking about it. We did a segment on it, and we was just like, man, this is just odd for all these women to come out. Like, really, this dude was wreaking havoc like this in the great city of Houston in Texas, and nobody knew about this. Nobody knew. Like, he was just out here sexual harassing and sexual assaulting massage therapists up and down Houston, and nobody knew about it. So I remember we was talking about it. It was like, man, this is kind of odd. What happened? Oh, he signed that contract and then he didn't want to play there no more. Oh, okay. Then you're like, they wouldn't do that, would it? I don't know. Houston ownership is pretty shady. Okay, cool. Fast forward to now. So 22 women filed a case against him, but only 9 of them was actually like progressed to criminal like complaints or whatever. Like, so, and then of the 9 cases, they go to grand jury, and the grand jury throw out all 9. So I want to backtrack to something that you said on Twitter. Or maybe, did you say it on? No, I don't think you said it on Twitter. I think I read something on Twitter and then you responded to me in person. But so that's a season that Deshaun Watson never going to get back. The one thing you never get back is time. So that's a season that he never going to get back. Now he stayed relevant.
I think that was on my Twitter.
Oh, okay. So much be going on. I don't be remember what. But and that resonated to me, as you can see, because I was like, damn, man, something we don't get back is time. That's very true. And he'll never get that back. Not only that, you're still going to have people like, well, something must have happened. Where that smoke is always fire. So, something had to happen. Like, not everybody was lying. They didn't just pull this out of thin air. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But it goes to say, and I for the other side of the table, I know they're going to be like, well, if you pay good money for a lawyer, you're supposed to get the case thrown out. Did he really get the case thrown out? It seems like he did exactly what anybody else in this situation will have to go through. You go through a grand jury. And remember, Jay, I said this. I said, I wish they would have kind of outed the women that was testifying, because I just felt like it was something funny about this. I don't want to be the guy that say, oh, she lying about sexual assault, because I know how serious they can get. Oh, she lying about sexual harassment. I know how they can get. But I did say it's only fair that if Deshaun Watson ain't going to get drugged through the mud and all this, how come the victims, like, or the accusers, their names should be out here too, just in case they might be over, saturating the situation here. And then come to find out when the rubber does meet the road with the grand jury, and they do have to like plead their cases in front of a 12-person grand jury, all of a sudden all 9 cases get dropped. So I think it was something to what I was saying back in the day. Like, if I think if those women that was complaining, if they had got brought out earlier, I don't know if this case would have got this far, to be honest with you. But it did. Now we're here. It is what it is. Deshaun Watson one step closer to being, exonerated, fully free. He did mention that he still got some things to do, but today was a big day. So, okay, I'm happy for that. Now, to the football news. Here's the deal. It seems to me that the Deshaun Watson was kind of zoned in on teams that was lacking a starting quarterback. And the funny thing is he got the Browns there, so he must really feel like they still lacking a quarterback. So take that for what it's worth. But when I would say this for the Browns, right? Listen, he's smart enough to know if he can get to Cleveland, they have everything they need but a quarterback. So he's like, I wouldn't mind going to Cleveland. I think the Panthers make sense. Listen, the Panthers ain't got a quarterback on that roster that can hold his cleats. Let's just keep it real. So I think, I like the Carolina Panthers. The Saints, I mean, they do got Jameis Winston, but, I'm assuming that the Saints just kind of like, yeah. I mean, he cool, but if we can get Deshaun Watson, we're going to ship him out right quick too. So I'm not mad at that. And then, the Vikings, the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Falcons was also rumored. The funny thing is the Seahawks don't need to be rumored. The Seahawks need to really be making a move here. I mean, you just got rid of one guy that carried your franchise for the last 10 years. Get you another guy that might make it happen. I know the Eagles kind of, they kind of in and out on Jalen Hurts. And the Eagles need to just sit down somewhere. It's always something with them. Like, can we get a little stability here? If it ain't a head coach in the rotating door, here come the quarterbacks in the rotating door. Just sit down somewhere. Like, you just made the playoffs. like, golly, show some gratitude. Be a little appreciative of what you got going on. The Vikings, I get it. Kirk Cousins, people are tired of Kirk Cousins and his act. But I don't know if bringing in a new quarterback is really what you want to do when you're bringing in a new head coach. I got it. He's a head coach. He won't be I get that, but he's an offensive coordinator. So, I mean, the quarterback matters. You don't think he'll rather play with Deshaun Watson than Kirk Cousins? I think so. However, I can also understand, hey, they got a quarterback, leave that alone. And the Falcons, you know what would be interesting with the Falcons? So they would most likely trade. They would trade Deshaun Watson to the Falcons and then trade Matt Ryan to the Texans. That would be interesting for the Texans. Because then what would they do? Like, we got Matt Ryan. We got to kind of play him. But we got Davis Mills over here that kind of look like he could be something in today's NFL. I thought that would be very interesting. But either way, man, to be honest with you, I don't see him wearing the Texans jersey again unless it's at practice. I don't see him starting a game for the Texans this year. But it's so fluent, and I'm pretty sure what the Texans brass is gonna do is ask for so much egregiousness because Bill O'Brien gone, so you ain't getting people for a second round pick. So they're gonna ask for so much that it's going to be kind of hard to trade for Deshaun Watson. But I think between those 7 teams, well, I'm going to take the Browns out. I think the Browns just going to live on with Baker Mayfield. I'm going to take the Vikings out too. But I think the other 5 teams got a good shot. And I think, if I had to put it in a pecking order, I would probably go with the Panthers number 1. They definitely need a quarterback. And then I'll probably, go to Seahawks. I think they could really use a quarterback. And then my third team will be probably the Saints, and then the Vikings, and then the Eagles. Probably my top 5 landing spots. So maybe he end up being the starting quarterback for one of those 5 teams, but it damn sure won't be for the Houston Texans. I think he's done there. He should be done there after everything that had happened. I would not step on the field again for the Houston Texans if I was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think just to start off where you started off, I think one of the most it's just been one of the most odd stories from the start, where it started with like one woman, and then two, and then four, and then eight, and then just balloon just out of control. I mean, this is like the COVID. This is like COVID spread. Just it's you got it. All right, everybody get tested. Now everybody got it. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Because I do remember we had several discussions on this topic where we like, it's so good. But then the more and more that it seemed to like blow up, we was like, well, I guess we'll go ahead and do the Homer Simpson meme and just back up here into the woods, because
we're in the bushes.
I mean, it's just because we simply, the problem is we simply just, and we still don't, for that matter, we just don't know enough of the facts of, we don't know what went on in that courtroom. And for the record, even though the criminal stage of this has seemingly passed, and that's obviously great for Deshaun Watson, I don't think anything has been settled from a civil perspective. So you still have that to contend with. But from the and by the way, to that point about it, that's definitely a fine line. Like, it's really hard to imagine that this is a full 22-person hit job to where everybody's just ganging up on Deshaun Watson.
Oh.
If I had to take a guess at what this was like Deshaun Watson may have like been in a gray area at some point, and then you got one woman who's pissed off, and then all of a sudden I don't know, like the Texans, you lay it out well. It does have a conspiracy type feel to it, but I mean, he signs a contract, which was a mistake, by the way. I told you when DeAndre Hopkins got traded, I said, you don't sign with this team. They don't have your best interest in mind. He signed anyway, and then he figures it out. Wait a minute, I don't need to be here. I'm not going to do anything. And then I don't know. So, man, I think just the Texans organization, they're not a good look right now. And when they trade Deshaun Watson, they might as well, you go back 20 years, they based an expansion team again, all the way back to square one. So, but to the possible destinations, I think his top three is probably about what I'd have the top three to be. I think if I had to guess where I think he'll end up, I think Carolina, and I think Carolina can, especially from what they can give up. They got a guy who they're taking calls on right now, Christian McCaffrey. And I think that's a trade you make to get Deshaun Watson. I think you give up Christian McCaffrey because, as you well know, running backs are a lot easier to find than quarterbacks. And and the Panthers likely will not find a running back as good as Christian McCaffrey, but you can find a running back that can just, do the basics. And the 49ers, they get away with it every year from every round, seemingly. It doesn't matter. Hey, man, we saw you on the street. You look like you can run. Come on in. So I think they can give up Christian McCaffrey. I think that'd be very attractive for Houston. They signed that running back room that they had last year with David Johnson, Philip Lindsay, and Mark Ingram. I mean, it's just a joke what they were doing. So,
that's kind of odd though. That is kind of odd though. If you name those three names, right, you would think like they're going to get something cooking with that 3-man rotation. Like those are guys at one point. They've been all pro running backs. You know what I'm saying? At one point, all three of those guys.
But we did know that team was just terrible. And you don't have a quarterback. Your offensive
you don't got a coach.
You know, your GM just woke up. We don't know what's happening. So have at least get in that position straight. And like you say, maybe they have some in Davis Mills. I mean, he showed something in his rookie season. So, and we know the quarterback class this year ain't looking too great. So, if I had to guess, I think Carolina's where he'll end up. But I think I'm not that confident in that because I also say Deshaun Watson went to college at Clemson, so he's got some Carolina connections. I think he's from the Carolinas, so you also have that in play. If I had to pick
my bad.
Not true?
I think he might be from Georgia, but
okay,
there's neither here nor there.
At least the region. Yeah, I didn't know that for a fact. I'm just spitballing. But anyway, if I think the best spot, as in like what team is most ready to win now, I'd have to say the Browns. And I mean, you look at what the Browns have done so far, trading for Cooper. I think they signed Allen Robinson too, if I'm not mistaken. So we know about Nick Chubb. We know about Kareem Hunt. We know about the offensive line. You got some foundational playmakers on defense. I mean, we've said this the past couple of seasons, and especially last season, Baker Mayfield holding this team back.
Yep.
And I mean, and the thing about, if you look at what they did at wide receiver, you can't say, hey, man, we got him 2 wide receivers. We're ready to go now. You just had 2 wide receivers. You just traded Landry, or you just released Landry and you traded Odell. So, I mean, is there that much big of a difference between Allen Robinson and Amari Cooper? I think they're a little bit better, but if Baker Mayfield can't make it work with those two, they ain't getting it done with these 2 guys. I mean, it's just not. So I think the Browns are the best spot. I think the Saints, he'd work well with the Saints too, but the Saints, I think he'd have to do more by himself because, unless we see Michael Thomas come out here and dominate, we know that wide receiving room is just not impressive. So I think he'll end up at Carolina, but I think the team that he would most be able to impact and take to the next level is Cleveland.